What is going on? Welcome to another live. Okay, congratulations on making it here. Yes, we're all in trouble because I'm figuring out how to use my soundboard efficiently. Today we have a fun stream plan. We're going over a block start fundamental checklist. This is something that's going to help you not have to think about block starts. They're so technical. So I'm excited to get that to you. And so what I have planned is that we're going to record the intro for a YouTube video where I'm going to make this into a video after this. But and then after that, we'll go over some live film review. Before we do that, I just want to talk about the concept of showing up prepared, right? So it's the same for when you get to your practice and you have your water bottle, you have your shoes, you did your prehab, you did your rehab because you're focused on what you want to achieve that day at practice. And similarly, this is a theme that I've been trying to work on as I work on live streaming and being an online coach and showing up prepared on the goal of the video, the topic, the live stream is for that day, and how do I prepare properly before. So in an effort to show up prepared, I've created just a small YouTube script. You get to see the live behind the scenes. So just as you're exploring your athletic journey, whether you're preparing yourself, you want to prepare your athletes because you're a coach, I'm doing the same here inside of this live studio, which is my house. So, and what does that entail? It does entail this brief script writing, or just at least ideas. It entails practicing those ideas before I show up here to share with you, and getting in the right state of mind, because it's similar to a warm up, and we're going over a lot of this actually in the block start portion, in the block start routine portion. But I could be a laid back, lower energy, just quiet, reserved person. So a part of my preparation for this is to show up fully with energy. So doing exercise before, doing push-ups before, listening to music, all that kind of stuff. So I'm working on things to show up more prepared, just as you should be working on how to show up more prepared as well. What's up, man? Special guest, my dog wants to join us today. Okay, so I think let's get into the video. Okay, so if you feel faster without blocks than you do with blocks, it's not that blocks are the problem, it's that you need a block start checklist. I like dogs. Zayda says, I like dogs too. I can come here. He's standing back there. I'll show him if he comes closer. Okay. So we'll start again. If you feel faster without blocks than you do with blocks, it's not that blocks are the problem, it's that you need a block start checklist. My name is Chase Wheeler, and I'm obsessed with helping people reach their speed goals. But even more important to me are the 6 fundamentals that I gained from 20 plus years of my experience as an athlete and a coach, blended with a very, very high esteem, a very well-known coach, world-class coach, Olympians, named Coach Carroll Smith out of University of Georgia. Including in these 6 fundamentals, you're going to have having a routine, which is what we briefly discussed, ballistic jumps, loading the pedals, hip placement, making sure you're not sitting back on your hips, bad angles, and poor reaction time. You don't have to be a pro to have block starts like a pro. So let's get into it. The first fundamental of block starts is having a routine. Right? We are, as humans, very, very susceptible. Like, we can't do anything well without a routine associated with it. You think about your sleep routine. Maybe you have to read, maybe you have to stretch, maybe you have to watch some TV to decompress. You think about your wake up routine. Some people can't get the day started without caffeine. Some people need their workouts. Routines are primers to set you up for what you want to achieve. So similarly, your block start routine is a way to prime your brain to get ready to do a perfect block start. We talked about programming our brain for speed, and this is part of the program. You don't want to be thinking while you're doing your block starts. You want your program to take over, because when we have a set program, we operate much faster than when we're thinking. We're actually 20 times faster. We want that 20x speed. So we need our program to kick in while we're setting up our blocks. So the question I have for you is, do you have a block routine? And if your answer is, I don't know, then that means you don't have a block routine. And so you think about it in other sports as well, like basketball. For the free throw line, everyone's going to have a routine. They've often started it when they're small, so that when they get into the free throw, they're just in flow. They don't have to think about it. It's something that happens automatic: bounce, spin, dribble, shoot. We want the block start routine to be the same. It's something that every time you get in the blocks, you're practicing it, because it is now triggering your program to have a perfect block start. And for myself, I'm developing. Hello, Wyatt like AI. I don't know what you mean by that. What's up, everybody? So my own challenges with routine is that live stream. I need a routine for my live stream. I used to just try to get in reps of live stream, show up here unprepared, which is great when in the beginning while you're getting reps. But now I need to develop a routine of exercise to get my energy up, of maybe a tea to keep my energy up, those kind of things, so that once I do these things as I'm headed and knowing I'm doing a live stream, I'm preparing my body, I'm in a routine so that it happens automatically. So the second part of block start fundamentals is that you want to do ballistic jumps. So we're moving out of the mental aspect of block starts here. Now we're getting into the physical aspects, and ballistic jumps are just going to be 2 jumps that you do before you begin to even start your block routine, right? You're standing behind your blocks. The starter has said, runners on your marks. You step in front of your blocks, you step over your blocks. However you do that, that's part of your own unique routine that you develop. And then you do 2 ballistic jumps where you jump high, bring your knees up. You want to, again, activate, you want to prime your body to be ready to have explosive power out of the blocks. And ballistic jumps are the way to do that. So another question I have for you is, do your ballistic jumps put the fear into your competitors? If you were watching you do your block start routine lined up against all your competitors, would you pick on yourself to win the race just based off of your ballistic jumps? A great example of this is going to be Noah Lyles. Whenever he gets in the blocks, he gets up really high, great ballistics, to the point where you see him among all the other competitors. Even if you didn't know them, you might say, hey, I got that guy, just based off of the way that he jumps, which is honestly how a lot of people view race, try to judge race, bet on races, things like that, keep it fun. So those are 2 questions. Do your ballistic jumps put the fear in your competitors? Would you choose yourself to win the race just based off of how you do your ballistic jumps? Now moving into the third part of the checklist, which is loading the pedals. This is one of the most important pieces of the block start, although tip number 4, 5, and 6, checklist number 4, 5, and 6 are as important, because you have to complete the routine to get a great block start. And this is still the middle of the routine. But how you do this, how you load your pedals, is going to ultimately set you up for success or for failure in your block start. So we want to pay attention. When we load our blocks, do we feel connected, planted, and centered on the blocks? Because if you don't, it's a problem, but don't worry, it's an easy fix that we're going to get into right now. This is something that I struggled with, even with a time of 10.4, which is a decent 100 time, but I don't remember being planted. I actually remember specifically having problems with how do you load the pedals effectively. This is a piece that Coach Carroll went over, where she explained it in such great detail, and it made so much sense. And I'm seeing it happen with my athletes, where they're now successful in their block starts. Because the way that you load the pedals is, first you want to load your back foot. So you, on your marks, you've stepped over your blocks, you've done your 2 ballistic jumps, and while you're getting into the blocks, before your knees are down, before your hands are where they're supposed to be, you want to load the back pedal first. Make sure that that foot is all the way against that back pedal. And then you want to load the front pedal. Make sure that foot is all the way on the front pedal. And then you want to put both knees down. The knee conversation is one where you can have both knees, you can have one knee, but really what it's about is loading those pedals. And we'll go over what to do exactly with your knees in the next step. But after you've loaded the pedals, you have to ask yourself, do you feel planted? and grounded to the pedal. Is your foot loose on the pedal? Does it slide when you come up to set? Does it slide down? Does it wiggle around? Um, do you feel a stretch on that calf as you get into the blocks? So those are questions you have to ask as you're loading the pedal. And then we move on to checklist number 4. So we discussed knees down, 1 knee down, 2 knees down. Ultimately, checklist number 4 that you want to make sure is that your hips are square and that you're not sitting back in the blocks. So the reason that 2 knees down is helpful after you've loaded back foot, then front foot, then both knees down, what people will do when they're allowed to raise their front knee is that they like to rock back and try to load the pedals that way. But that takes off away from the power from your hips. So your hips, your glutes, they're the most powerful thing in your body. And when you sit back, think about it as a chain. You've now created a kink in that chain where the most powerful part of your body, your hips, is now, it can still develop power, but it's going to take time away from the start. So the way we avoid that is with both of our knees down, we want to square our hips and face them down the track before we put our hands down. So both knees down, now we're on both knees and we square our hips facing down the track. We want it to be just like our eyes, right? We want to look where we want to go. We want our hips also faced to where we want to go, which is down the track. I've seen it so many times with my athletes that after they've loaded the pedals, they get down. And then when they go to be with their hands down, they then rock back and sit back on their pedals with their hips. And we want to avoid that. So that's fundamental number 4. And number 5 is going to be avoiding bad angles. Another mistake that I commonly see is that people don't bring their hips high enough. So, or they like to sit back, as we discussed. So this is about when you come to set. So now you've gone through your checklist, you've loaded both knees down, you've squared your hips, now your arms come down. When you come to set, it's about only raising your hips, right? So that means raise them straight up. Don't let them rock back. When you raise them, you want to form a triangle with your hips to put you in a good position. This should be easier on your hands than other techniques, because what my athletes try to do often is try to avoid the pressure on their fingers, which is something that is unspoken, but you have to get used to as a track runner. You can't try to compensate for that by then pushing back to try to relieve that pressure off of your hands. It's going to be there. It takes some getting used to, but ultimately you have to just raise your hips straight up on set. And if you are uncertain about how high do you come in the set position, right? Because you have people that are too low, you have people that come up way too high. An easy tip to find out what height your hips should be is that when you come to set, you want to make sure, we talked about loading the pedals, that you come to set and that back pedal is loaded fully, and that will ultimately put your hips in a much better position. And the 6th tip here is how to avoid poor reaction time. The 6th fundamental is having great reaction time by using your arms. You want to know which arm is supposed to shoot forward first based off of which foot is first. And a way you can get with that, you can figure that out, is with drills, as I'll show you. And you want to avoid shoulders over hands. You want them to be, shoulders over line. You want them to be shoulders over hand with a slight bend. King Brinkley asked, do you recommend holding your breath during set position? Thank you for the question, King Brinkley. So this is something, again, that I recently learned from Coach Carol Smith that I did not know before. So the answer to your question is yes. You want to, on set, breathe in. And then I used to always exhale as though I was doing the bottom of a squat or the bottom of a clean, trying to move the weight. When the starter gun goes off, I then exhale, try to get a nice dry phase. What Coach Carroll said is that you should actually remain inhaled for 10 meters. So set, pow. And then at 10 meters, you exhale and then re-accelerate as though you have another set of blocks there. So drive to 10, and then at 10, you exhale to re-accelerate. So thank you for your question. That's a nice little pro tip. So we've gone over the 6 fundamentals, and I'm going to give you one more pro tip. We did not discuss what distance the pedals should be from the line because each person is a little bit different and you have different techniques. Some people use their feet to measure, some people use a tape measure where you measure from your hip, you figure out the distance of your pedals. The easiest advice I can give you is 2 steps to the front pedal. So you start from the starting line, you measure 2 feet to the front pedal, and then you go back to the starting line and you measure 3 feet to the back pedal. And the key here is treating the pedals as though they're independent of each other, as opposed to measuring 2 to the front and then using the front to measure 1 foot. I see my athletes mess that up all the time. Treat the pedals as though they're independent. Measure 2 to the front, 3 to the back, and that should put you in a good position. Okay. So we have this checklist, these fundamentals that whenever you can do them well, you will not have to think about your block start. But a major key piece of this fundamental checklist is that block starts are very technical. So even with the checklist, it will still take time to perfect these blocks. And you want to remember that when the block start quality begins to go downhill, like you've got great reps in, you've been out there an hour, maybe hour and a half, the quality begins to go down. That is when we stop our block session for the day. And we want to also think about this and conceptualize this and reframe this as building a bridge. You want to build a bridge to the perfect block start. But each block session you do, every video that you watch on how to do blocks well is just one brick to the bridge. So you've done a certain number of block starts, you watch videos, you try to improve it, you have 200 bricks that you've laid along the bridge, but the bridge is 1,000 bricks long. So don't try to judge the bridge based off of 200 bricks, right? And on top of that, you have bricks that were not set right because it was a bad technique or bad advice from a coach. So those bricks also have to be replaced. Continue to build your bridge and then judge your block start after you've built the full bridge. So you don't give up on technique. You just have to understand every day, every piece of information, every video you watch is just one brick towards your perfect block start bridge. And so okay, so I'm on this hype about block starts because it's been a common theme for a lot of my, I have to recast here. Sorry. It's been a theme for my athletes having to learn 90. Hold on. 9037. Having to learn the block starts correctly. And I found that this checklist, that this going through these motions has really set a lot of my athletes up for success, even if they're new, so that they don't have to continue to wonder and do things differently with their blocks. So we have this video I created. This is a live coaching session. We're just going to go through it and watch all the fundamental aspects that we just discussed and watch how my athletes are able to deal with this checklist, what challenges they came across, and how we improved them along the way. So let's watch this. I need an outro actually for that video. What should my outro be? Yeah. Okay. I'll figure it out later. Let's watch this. I had these moments. Go. Oh, that was a... No! Today I'm here with Satchel and Shane and we're going over block start checklist. Go. 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 Nice, Shane. First things first, y'all know how to set them up. Yeah? No? Okay, let's see. So, Satchel, you set them up first, maybe. Okay, so this is the piece that I mentioned about setting your pedals. And what Satchel is going to do here is go 2 feet to the front pedal. Let me see. So he's still figuring out. He's fairly new to setting up his blocks. It takes a little bit of figuring out to do, but what he's going to do now is measure the 2 feet. 1, 2. Set his blocks
So
down.
2 to the first pedal
We go a little
from the line.
We go a little inside.
Yep.
So this is what I mean by this is all personal, right? Satchel is leaving his toe on the block. He likes his front pedal to be 2 feet, but minus a toe. And some people like their front pedal to be 2 feet plus a toe. This is personal. This is a part of your routine that once you get it down, you no longer have to think about.
Yep.
Good.
And very important here, Satchel goes back to the line and measures from here 3 feet to this pedal. He doesn't try to take this pedal here and then measure 1 foot to this pedal. I've seen my athletes mess it up so often. So that's why I gave the tips I gave.
3 to the back pedal. Good. I'm going to step them on.
Okay, so Satchel's blocks are set. Now we're going to begin the routine portion of it.
It feels weird when I put the back one up.
I agree. I didn't know why, but now I'm beginning to understand why.
If you need more in-depth discussion about what height your pedal should be at, certain aspects of your routine, this is a great video on the channel that you should watch.
Two jumps.
Yeah. Oh,
Let's see.
jumps.
Yep.
Okay.
You were doing 1?
Yeah.
I like 2.
Yeah.
On your marks? Runners on your marks?
Okay, so as we're developing Satchel's routine, we just went over the ballistic jump part. So for Satchel, here's his routine. What I mean by this is this should happen every time for Satchel as he sets up his blocks. He doesn't want to change anything about this. So he slaps his legs. That's part of his routine. He gets his ballistic jumps in. Now, here's one thing about the jumps for Satchel is that those knees also have to come up. We need our psoas activated. We need our hips activated. Those are not bad jumps, but go ahead and let me know in the comments. Would you bet on Satchel to win his race just based on these 2 jumps? Let's watch those again. Is he putting fear into his competitors that are next to him because his jumps, ballistic jumps, look so good that they're scared to race him? Let's see. What's your answer? I'm not convinced, Satchel. I think I would dust you just based off of those jumps. Okay. Now we move on to loading the pedals. You see here, Satchel begins to load his front pedal, and then he loads his back pedal. So what are we going to do about that?
We're going to load our back foot first. So back foot gets loaded first. Okay.
So we had to go back to the beginning, back to the basics, because he messed up a part of the routine, and we don't want to let that slide. We need him every time to load that back pedal first. So I made him stand back up. Now get the back pedal loaded. There you go. Before he's even down on either of his knees, this is great work by Satchel. I'm going to just highlight this aspect. This is what I mean by loaded back pedal. Look at that foot. Okay, that's a nice loaded back pedal. If you notice also, this knee's up, hands are not even worried about the line here. Okay, he's just worried about step 2 of his checklist, loading the back pedal and then loading the front pedal. And so this is what his front load pedal looks like. Okay. Another pro tip here is we're loading that back pedal, but this toe should be on the track. It actually has to be on the track given like the rules. Now Satchel can place both knees down. Okay. But before he puts his hands down, He squares his hips. Now, what I would like to see Satchel do here, look at this. Where's his focus? His focus is down. I would like to see Satchel place his focus on the finish line, straight out ahead of him, and then put his hands down. But that's a part of the routine that we have to work on. So Satchel's hips are square, knees are down, pedals are loaded, hands come down. Okay. Now, this is another important note that we discussed briefly, which is shoulders over hands. It's okay if it's a little bit over the line here, but they're pretty much even with the line over his hands, bent elbow, or unlocked, not bent, unlocked elbow. Now, this is what a big piece of what I mean. I'm going to see if, I don't think I know how to do this. Okay. Look at his hips. Let me see. Okay, I don't know how to do this, but look at his hips. They are not sitting back in his blocks. So what you have to do is pay attention. Are your hips back here? Like resting back here? That's what we mean by avoiding sitting back in the blocks. This is a big factor because this is a power center. Okay. So if his power center is sitting back here, first of all, he's got to run a further distance because hips back here. But second of all, it's going to lead to an inability to produce efficient power. Okay.
Good. And then when you come to set, you're just going to form a triangle with your hips. And these, yeah, you want to feel a stretch here.
Okay, so this is the part about bad angles. This is a nice hip angle, right? This is a nice angle here. Nice, nice, nice. So let's hear what do you...
It kind of slid down.
What's that, your foot?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like when I
Oh,
went,
down the pedal?
Yeah, like that.
Place it against it. So you need to make more pressure against this back pedal then. So when you come to set, there. You feel?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, relax.
Man, that is...
So one thing for Satchel that I didn't see while I was doing this coaching session with him is that this toe should remain connected to the ground. So that's why he feels like whenever he tries to go, he slides down.
Okay, relax.
Man, that is... Ooh, that is weird.
Feels a little bit more different than what
Yeah,
you've been
way
doing?
different, Yeah.
Why don't you give it a shot where you just go to the first line? I'll give you a set go. Or, yeah.
Loads the pedals. Knees down.
Set. Go.
So you see Satchel made a little adjustment here with, instead of doing 2 knees down, he did 1 knee. And tell me if you can see a difference in his hip positions, right? Because what we did before is after this position here, he went ahead and put both knees down and the hips remained there. So he's loading. Boom. But then he readjusts. So if you saw, right, his previous pattern of 1 knee up, Look at how it sits his hips back. And then what he does is he makes a conscious decision to shift his hips back forward, which is nice. Again, 1 knee down, 2 knee down doesn't matter too much, but the 1 knee down gives you that tendency to push your hips back that way.
Set. Go.
Let's see what I said to him here, because
Bring on the ground.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But not your ground contact time needs to be less.
Okay.
You're trying to put too much
Yeah.
to push.
Got
Trust that you have the power built in you already. You're already a power.
front knee wasn't down. That's right, King Brinkley. So the front knee was not down. And if you notice on this next one, he does place his front knee down. It's one of those things that if you maintain the forward hip position, then 1 knee down versus 2 knee down is not too big of an issue. But the tendency when you pick up that front knee is that your hips shift back. And so that is an issue in with our fundamental number 4, which is avoid sitting back on your blocks. And so I believe Satchel made a change here. Let's see. Let's watch his routine from the beginning, okay? Ballistic jumps.
Shane, you're up next.
Also training Satchel's sister, Shane, who's learning her blocks. Now he has 2 knees down. Look at this hip. Look at these hips. Okay, look how much they are not sitting back on his heel. So those are good hips. That's a good eye there, King Brinkley. Boom, squares the hips, hands down. Hips stay forward. And right here, actually, that knee is still up, but his hips remained. Let's see. Ah, good. Good. Yeah, those are fine.
Set.
Yeah, you can see that, right, King? The if the hips sit back, like I went over a video yesterday of one of my athletes running the 200, and every single person in his race was sitting back on their heels, including him. And so you see how common it is. So that's a big piece to avoid.
Go.
Not bad. So we've got Shane coming up next. We're going to teach her the same routine. She's going to
Practice in between reps is so again
she's going to figure out her blocks. 1, 2 to the first pedal. She's adjusting the blocks to fit those 2 steps to the first pedal. Then 3. She goes back to the line and measures out 3 and moves her back pedal up just a little bit. What am I telling him?
set. Bow.
Oh, King Brinkley, if you're here, this is what I was telling him. This is about breathing.
What you normally do.
Right.
On the spot, you're just like, oh shit.
Just got to get used to it.
Yeah.
One other thing that I would like you to practice in between reps is so again about the breathing. I always thought that you exhale on the gun just like you would on the bottom of a squat or something. What she said in the video yesterday was that you actually on set and on go you still are holding actually until the first 10, and then at the first 10 you let out and almost pretend like there's a new
I gotta try that.
set of blocks at 10 where you re-accelerate again. So it should be set. Wow.
I gotta try that because I'm just breathing out.
So, King Brinkley, if you hear that was directly related to your question earlier about breathing. Okay, so we've got Shane coming up next. Again, she measures her pedals. Steps on her blocks, and then she's ready to begin her routine. I gotta stop using the...
All right, Shane, we're just gonna try. Huh? All right, we've got Shane up, who just did 300s, even though I told her.
So yap fest going on at this practice. Nobody's working.
Mark, we're gonna step in front of the blocks, do a nice double jump, so that when people see you, they go, "Oh wow!"
Same critique of Shane's jumps. Did those jumps put fear into anyone? Not me. Knees have to come up, knees to chest.
Do a nice double jump, so that when people see you, they go, "Oh wow, I got lane 7," just based on the way that you jump. Believe it or not, that is how it works. No, like people that are watching, they'll call, "Oh, I have lane 5, lane 4," like they kind of, like they're betting, yeah. Like we're little horsies. Dogs at the race, good.
I don't want that.
Okay, let's see how Shane does. Oh my goodness. Okay. So she did her ballistics. She loads her back foot. She loads her front foot. Knees come down. Squared hips. And hands come down.
You're not gonna go yet. I'm just gonna bring you to set, and then you'll come back down. I'm gonna place this. This should not be, you should have it. Yep. Okay, come up to set. All the way against. Boom. Feel that?
There we go. So what Shane noticed was that it was actually difficult for her to maintain that position with her hands, with her fingers. So partly because Shane's new to doing blocks, her fingers hurt and it's unusual feeling, but also her shoulders were a bit too far over the line, and that created a lot of instability for Shane. So again, we're going to focus on that. Load it up. Front pedal could be loaded more. You see this? Uh-oh. So Shane could actually load that front pedal a bit more before she brings her knees down. Did you see how much space is in between there? But then she brings her knees down, squares her hips, gets her fingers ready because they're hurting a little bit. And there's the problem. Look at that. Okay, that's the problem for her stability. That's why on the first attempt, she was off balance.
Good. So what I'm going to have you do, Shane, actually is stand up real fast. You're going to move your blocks back a big toe. So how do you measure your first one? Oh, wow. You already have. Okay. So move them back just a bit.
this is part of the variability for athletes around the distance of their block setup. So she needed to move back just a little bit with her whole blocks because she was leaning way too far over the line. You don't want to be, again, you want your hands obviously at the line, and then you want your shoulders to be over your hands. So she does her ballistic jumps. Then she loads that back pedal, loads that front pedal. Let's see if she loads it any better on this one. Not horrible. Knees down, hips face forward, down the track, hands down. Look, but then she defaults to this motion again. So let's see what we do about it.
Oh, yep, shoulders over hands, maybe not shoulders over line. Yeah, there you go. Now,
good. So small change. She still likes this forward leaning motion, but it's not quite as drastic. So small change and it's going to improve.
place that foot against that. Yeah, now go to the line.
So this is the other part about poor reaction. So this is our final piece of the block start checklist, which is that these arms are both down. It's like she's trying to fly out of the blocks, right? Instead of, what leg is that? That's forward. This left arm needs to shoot forward because it's should match the right leg. So as the right leg comes off that pedal and push, we got a nice push. We're still connected to the front pedal. See, but that leg is moving forward and that arm is not yet moving forward. So for Shane, we had to create connection between her arms and her legs. And I will show you how we did that. I'll show you how we drilled it. At least it's going to take more drills because we have to form new patterns for Shane. I'll show you exactly how we did that in a second, because that was a common theme for her block starts, was that she's trying to use all of her legs and none of her arms, and arms are a huge portion of block starts.
You want to try again? Okay, we're going to try again. All right, just to the first line here. Go through your checklist. Hops, your ballistic jumps in. You're about to give Satchel a run for his money now on these starts here. Load back foot first, all the way, yep. You want what she said in the video is that you want to play stretch on your calf. You want to feel it stretch because then it can.
I had no stretch.
No, I'm not sure I did either. Why would?
More yap session from the coach. That's my fault. Okay, so let's look at the difference between Shane's hips and Satchel's hips. Look at that. These hips are sitting back, right? You can see how it's sitting on this foot here. Let's see if we can. Actually, I don't want to do that because I don't want to mess up the flow that we're in. I don't quite know how to use this app fully yet. Okay, so those hips are sitting back, right? So these are the type of mistakes that we want to avoid by using our checklist. And then she had kind of adjusts forward, but still not only sitting back, but you can see the rotation in her hips here. Boom. Okay. And as a result, she has a weird start. Because those hips were trying to get involved, but they were not in a position to be involved. And that was the problem with that start. We're going to try again. Okay. Look, you can visibly see the, right? Satchel was more straight up and down, and you can see how Shane's developed this motion. Boom, look at the hips there in the middle at that angle. Let's see if she changes that at all as she begins to, nope, they stay where they are. They've got this sitting back motion. And that's going to lead to a lot of problems for Shane. I mean, when you work through these fundamentals, when you work through these checklists, make sure that you only focus on one thing at a time. So that could be one thing for the whole session. It could be one thing until you get it right, and then you move to the next session, or it could be one thing for months. And that is how you develop perfection. Like, remember we discussed, we want to build a bridge, but it's brick by brick, not the whole bridge at once. And so each session, each time you get out there is a chance to practice and to lay a nice brick for your bridge. This is not a horrible position, though. I'm actually more of a fan of this than I thought I would be. But look at that movement that she wants to do. So because her hips are in a bad position, Shane wants to rock. Did you see? Look, let's look it up close. So because her hips are in a bad position, now look at what she had to do to correct that. So, okay, hips sitting back. So when she comes to set, in order to go, she has to do this load against the pedal as well. So there's a few problems. The hips are a few problems, and this is a bigger problem, actually. That foot's not really planted back on that back pedal. And so what does she try to do before she goes? Load that foot back. Boom. Okay. And then she actually is in a better position as a result of that little, honestly, that's a false start. As a result of that false start, now she's actually in a better position. These hips are actually more forward. Okay. Those are good angles, but she had a false start to do it. So we need to clear up her. Let's see if her arms do a bit better. Oh, look at that knee coming. Look at this leg. We're looking at this back leg here. Come off. And then the arm is just kind of hanging out, not shooting forward as it's supposed to. Look at this guy. He already sees the mistakes. Nothing to do but smile.
You should only practice perfect reps, and then once they become not perfect, okay. So we're going to line one. Remember what we.
Again, this full video, you can hear all my commentary. It's up on the channel if you're interested. Maybe I could put it in the description or something of this video. Because we're definitely talking about a lot of good things, but we want to stay focused on block starts for today.
Go.
So we're just going to take a second here, right? Satchel's worked through a lot of the checkpoints. He's done really well. I want you to just note how much more secure, how much more connected to the pedals he looks in that set position. That's a great position. If we can zoom in, we see all the checkpoints that we need. That back foot, it does need to come down a bit, but it's connected. It's connected. Nice hips. They are not sitting back, right? shoulders over hands, a slight bend in the shoulders. He's in a great position to do a nice rep, to create a great brick for his bridge.
No, we're going to the white. So he's going. Go.
So you see when Satchel decides to go, when this foot that's coming off of the pedal, the corresponding arm is already working its way forward, where for Shane, that arm would be still down here somewhere. So that's good arms by Satchel out of the blocks. One of the things we have been working on is to remain big arms out of the blocks, and he's doing it okay.
That felt better.
It looks better.
That felt way fucking better.
It looks way better. IMO. Like naked eye without like extra film and stuff, you know.
That felt way better.
Often too with the film, you get.
Oh, that's how we're going to close this video.
Often too with the film, you get too analytical.
What?
I said that looked great from my eyes, and I'm saying I know with the film I'm like pointing out little stuff, but oftentimes you can become too analytical,
Dude,
then it fucks you up. That looked great.
I just gotta practice that. That was
Let's get another one. That. Go. Yeah.
So as we continue to work through this checklist, as we continue to watch film and analyze and try to make everything perfect, make sure that the limiting factor isn't you studying too much. The value and the improvements that you're going to make are by doing the work or by doing the reps. So stop watching all the videos unless they're mine and get out there and go do some block starts, go do some reps. If you don't know where to start, if you're really a beginner and really need work on the fundamentals of sprinting, I do have a fundamentals of sprinting on my school, which is in the link below. You can start there. It's something you can do every day. I know you're not supposed to train speed every day, but you can train speed fundamentals every day. And a great way to do that is this warm-up that I have.
a little tired.
That back foot just stepped over.
I did a full.
Okay. So just as a little bonus, we're going to review, before we even got in the blocks, we wanted to prime ourselves for good block starts. And one of the ways to do that is through speed bounds. If you don't know how to bound, don't try speed bounds. Work with regular bounds first. If you don't know how to do that, work with skipping first. But Satchel and Shane, I've worked with them both to understand bounding, and so we did
Use your arms
speed
all the
bounds.
way through. Yep. Specifically the bounds.
So what you didn't see from this clip, because of my poor angles trying to film and coach, is that Satchel sprinted to 20. Sprint to 20 from 0 to 20, and then he will bound to 50. So he's getting used to speed bounds. The arms need work, as do his arms while he's sprinting. This back arm is great. This front arm, there's a little too much bend there. It needs to be a bit more out. And this is actually what he does in the blocks as well. And that arm needs to be driving, pushing forward, not up. You can see it. It's like disconnected. his arms are disconnected from his bound.
Nice, Shane.
Shane's a little bit better with her arms, although she's still a little blocky. We need to work on some efficiency for Shane, but those arms are a bit better than Satchel's. That's a nice bound right there. Driving that foot back under, grabbing. She could be a little more aggressive, a bit more elastic with her arms.
Just remember, don't get.
Okay, so that's our block start. Let's see here. That was our block start checklist. Went over a lot. Just understand, take it piece by piece. I broke it down into 6 fundamentals. Work on each fundamental one by one, and then watch the improvements come to your block starts after you've perfected each stage one by one. No matter what your block starts are, you may have coaches that tell you different things. The most important piece, I give you 2 of the most important pieces if you remember nothing else. First is always have the same routine. Second is load those pedals. So good luck on your next block starts. Film them, drop them in school, in my school links, Speed Lab in the description, so I can review them and help you get faster. So thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Until next time.